Can a 15-year-old multi-effects compete with the stuff that's on the market today? Let's go have a look. Hey YouTube, back again. Sorry about the voice, I'm a little bit sick, and sorry about the gleaming shiny face. It's about 14,000 degrees today, and the fan's off for recording purposes, so it's hot as the surface of the sun in here. But anyway, regardless, today we're going to have a look at the Line 6 M13 and figure out whether or not this antiquated thing the size of your goddamn house is actually worth it in 2025. Yeah, if you like this sort of stuff, please consider liking and subscribing. That gives me the warm and fuzzies, and who doesn't want to give the stranger on the internet the warm and fuzzies? Yeah, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've got one of these. I've had this for ages. I had an M5, but it shit itself, so that went in the bin. Obviously, they're not making it anymore. It was released in 2009, I believe, so it's roughly, I don't know, 3,000 years old at this stage. I've had this thing for a little while now. I bought it secondhand, primarily when I was doing church stuff. Heaps of delays and heaps of reverbs on it, so it was awesome for that. But I haven't been doing that for a while, and it's just been sitting there, so I just wanted to break it out and have a look and see, you know, if this thing still holds up with some of the other stuff that I've got on my board at the moment, and I thought I'd do a video. So for those who don't know the product, this is the Line 6 M13. It's basically all the effects that were in like the DL4 and ML4, all that line of stuff, and the HD line of pods from back in the day. The M13 is the big boy out of all of them. There's an M5, which is pretty much like the HX1, and then the M9 is somewhere in between this and like the HX effects, so it's a little bit smaller than this one. So each one of these screens, we've got to think about it as a pedal. It's got all the rotary knobs. You can see what they relate to on the screen, so it's very easy, very intuitive to dial in tones very quickly. If you want to change the effect family, so from like gain to delay to reverb, you just click. Easy. Okay, so then each one of these screens, like I said, is a pedal. Each one of those pedals have 3 different states, and they can be anything you want. So if I want a delay up top, I want a gain in the middle, and then I want a reverb down the bottom, fine, happy days. The kicker is you can only use one at a time in that strip, but so you can use one out of here, one out of effects block 2, one out of 3, and one out of 4. You can basically run 4 effects at the same time, but you've got 12 available slots on your board to, you know, change in and out of. So what I like to do is have a couple different gains down one side, some modulation pedals or random other pedals that I can put into the front of an amp, and then at the back of it I've got delays and I've got reverb. Sometimes I'll stack 2 different reverbs if I want to have stupid big noises like we have on this video. But apart from that, it's pretty intuitive and pretty straightforward to use. I think there's something like a shit ton of different scenes. So each scene is basically a board. There's 1,000,001 different reviews and that sort of thing online if you want to get more details. Please do. There are, like, I don't know, over 100 different effects on this. Some of them are awesome, some of them really suck. Just being completely honest. You know, the connectability in this thing's great. Obviously we've got ins and outs coming out the wazoo, MIDI in and out, effects loops, expression for controlling parameters on delays, and pretty much anything. There's wire pedals in here that you can use the expression for. So I've basically just set up 12 different sounds on this, just for a little bit of a video today. Okay, so on the pedal side of things, we're running the guitar. It is a Yamaha SA-50 single coils Jazzmaster style trem into the M13. So we're going to the input of that. We're using the Tonex One in the effects loop of the M13, so that way we can run a couple effects before the amp and then a couple effects afterwards, like reverb and delay. What I've got programmed into this is my first overdrive. It's like a Chandler tube drive, I guess, is what they cloned it from. Just to give you an idea of the clean tone first. So nice and clean. Cool. Next we've got a tube screamer. Proco wrap. Next up is the octave fuzz, which loves the neck pickups. Love that thing. We're running a bias tremolo to the front of the amp, so nice and subtle. Chorus. This is an analog coil, so it's probably like a Boss style thing. Obviously all these pedals, you can find out what they're modeled off from the website. The next lot of pedals are running after the amp. So we are an analog delay with modulation. Next one is a low res delay, so the repeat sort of low resolution doesn't sound as nice, but it is really fun. So I've got that almost set to a slack back, where the repeats, because the tone sort of rolled out of them, it doesn't interfere with the initial attack of the note, but it adds a bit of depth behind what you're doing, so it just pads it out really nicely. We've got a cave reverb. Lush spring. Nice. Next up we have a hall. Nice and bright, the reflections. Last but not least is the particle reverb. I like to team this up with the cave reverb, and it just sounds huge, so really good for pads and The good things about it, obviously it's got everything in it. So for a studio tool, I think it's really powerful. The reverbs and delays and some of the modulations hold up really, really well. They work. It's easy to tweak. It's easy to dial in. There's no saving stuff. It automatically saves. Like, it's really good like that. I used to have an expression pedal that I ran into it to do all the wires and that sort of thing, and they sounded reasonably good as well. It gets you close enough without having to buy the real thing if you're only using it for like 1 or 2 songs here or there. The downside to it, well, the lower gain sides go okay. The higher gain ones sound really sort of artificial and gross. Some of the filter effects are a lot of bit crap. Like the synths and that sort of thing, they don't track very well. I've used a couple different amps. I've placed the synth before or after the amp, humbuckers, single coils, gain feeding into it, gain afterwards, and I can't really get it to want to behave itself. It is a 15-year-old pedal, so I mean, for what it is, it was probably good for back in the day, but for now it's not ideal. So if you're looking at buying it for a synth sort of thing, don't. Other downside to it, it is huge. Like, it is literally, it's massive. It's roughly an A3 size of paper, so it's a big boy unit. I've got a pedal train junior board, and I could fit 2 Boss pedals on top of each other easily, and that is my current touring board. This thing doesn't fit. It overhangs by a country mile, so keep that in mind if you're planning on putting on a board. You're going to need something with lots and lots of depth. But yeah, apart from the filter effects being absolute trash, this thing the size of, I don't know, half of Europe, it's honestly pretty fun to use. Like, there's a whole bunch of cool sounds in it that you can experiment with and play with, and I've seen them go for like 150 Australian on Facebook Marketplace, so they're dirt freaking cheap. They cost used in Australia about as much as what a JHS 3 Series pedal costs in other parts of the world. So like, it's really like the good value for money. Would I buy it again if it broke? Absolutely not. Obviously they don't make them anymore, and I know now, 10 years removed after getting this thing, the sorts of sounds that I use. And if I ever came across a gig where I needed a chorus pedal, I'll just go get a Boss one, because they're inexpensive, they're bulletproof, and it does the chorus thing. I never use synth regardless. I've got 1,000,001 gain pedals, and I use a Hall of Fame 2 for reverb, and that's got everything in it as well. But hey, if you're looking at something to have at your disposal, if you're doing studio stuff, it is a pretty cool piece of kit. Plugins are also really good, so I don't know, do what you want, I guess. But anyway, that was the Line 6 M13 in 2025. It is fun, it is cheap, it is massive, and it's hot as balls in here, so I'm going to go away and turn the fan on and end this video now before I die of heat stroke. Peace out, see you next time.